September 21st, 2024, Cambridge, Ontario. It was 1 p.m. on a busy Saturday afternoon. Families were shopping, children were playing. Then in broad daylight, four Hells Angels members stormed through a public parking lot, targeting rival bikers wearing the colors of the Loners Motorcycle Club. Within minutes, vests were violently ripped from bodies. Police would later discover 17 firearms connected to the incident. This wasn't just another biker scuffle. This was a territorial statement written in violence, a conflict decades in the making that exploded back onto Ontario streets in 2024. To understand why this happened, we need to go back to when these two gangs first collided. The origins, birth of the Loners. The Loners Motorcycle Club was born in 1979 in Woodbridge, Ontario. Founded by Frank Lenti and Gennaro Rosso, the club quickly became the third largest outlaw motorcycle gang in the province. They had strict rules. Members demanded American-made bikes and absolute loyalty. By the late 1980s, the Loners controlled significant drug territory throughout Ontario and had expanded chapters into Europe and the United States. They were independent, powerful, and answered to no one. The Hells Angels had different plans. The Hells Angels arrive. 2000. The Hells Angels didn't enter Ontario until December 29, 2000, but when they did, they arrived with overwhelming force. On that single day, 179 bikers from multiple Ontario gangs joined the Hells Angels in a mass ceremony in Sorel, Quebec. The Angels absorbed Satan's Choice, Paradise Riders, Last Chance, and even some Outlaws members. Overnight, they became the dominant force in Ontario. But there was one major gang they couldn't absorb: the Loners. The failed partnership. The relationship between these organizations began cordially. During the 1990s, Hells Angels members from Quebec frequently visited the Loners. In June 1993, Walter Stadnick, the Hells Angels national president, hosted a party in Wasaga Beach, attended by nearly every Ontario biker club. Frank Lenti and the Loners were guests of honor. Stadnick made his pitch. "Join us, become Hells Angels." Lenti refused. However, a business arrangement was struck. The Loners agreed to purchase their narcotics from the Hells Angels. For years, this working relationship held. But the Hells Angels don't do partnerships, they do takeovers. The London Chapter Betrayal, 1999. In 1999, the Angels made their move on the Loners London chapter. John Coates, a 6'7", 300-pound Hells Angel from Quebec, was brought in to recruit his own brother Jimmy Coates, a Loners member. Through family connections, John opened a secret pipeline, selling drugs directly to London Loners members while bypassing their president, Wayne Kellestein. When Kellestein discovered the betrayal, he exploded. He stripped the traitors of their colors, the ultimate insult in biker culture. One rebel loner was pistol-whipped and robbed. The Hells Angels don't forgive defiance. October 22, 1999, Iona Station, Ontario. Wayne Kellestein stopped his truck at a red light. A car appeared, driven by two Hells Angels associates. A shotgun emerged from the window. Bullets shredded Kellestein's truck, but he survived unharmed. The message was clear: submit or die. The would-be assassins were arrested and eventually pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit bodily harm. When the Coates brothers got out of jail, they were running the Hells Angels' New London chapter. The Angels had gotten exactly what they wanted. The Ontario Biker War, 1999 to 2002. On April 12, 2001, the Hells Angels delivered an ultimatum to the remaining Loners. They could no longer use Ontario on their patches. Unable to stand alone against overwhelming power, many Loners faced an impossible choice. Some joined the Angels. Others, led by Kellestein, patched over to the Bandidos, the Hells Angels' sworn enemies. The club fractured. From 1999 to 2002, Ontario became a war zone. Tattoo parlors burned, strip clubs were torched, massage parlors went up in smoke. On January 11, 2002, two people associated with the Hells Angels were shot, and a massage parlor in St. Thomas burned down. Violence escalated weekly. At least 15 people were injured in beatings and shootings. In June 2001, the Outlaws' Woodstock clubhouse was burned to the ground. The violence eventually de-escalated after massive police crackdowns. The Hells Angels won Ontario. They absorbed most rival gangs, controlled the cocaine trade, and established chapters from Thunder Bay to Toronto. By 2007, police raids seized 500 liters of GHB, 9 kilograms of cocaine, 67 rifles, and 5 handguns. Yet the loners never fully disappeared. The loners rebuild 2002 to 2022. The loners who remained independent rebuilt quietly. They expanded internationally. 17 chapters in Canada, 11 in Italy, 11 in the United States. They maintained their identity, their colors, their independence. In Ontario, that independence was a constant irritant to the Hells Angels. Tensions simmered beneath the surface for 2 decades. The conflict resurfaces, 2023. In August 2022, police executed search warrants related to ongoing friction between the loners and the outlaws. But the real explosion came in July 2023. July 8, 2023, Cornwall, Ontario. Around 8:20 p.m., the outlaws and loners clashed violently in a commercial parking lot. 2 people were stabbed, 1 was shot, 5 people were arrested. Less than 36 hours later, on July 10th, a massive fire destroyed the Outlaws clubhouse in Brockville, 100 kilometers away. Police suspected arson. Several homes were damaged, families were displaced. The Ontario Provincial Police Biker Enforcement Unit issued a stark warning. Do not approach outlaw motorcycle gang members. Do not wear gang-related clothing. You could become a target. Inspector Scott Wade, head of the Biker Enforcement Unit, told reporters that outlaw motorcycle clubs had expanded exponentially in recent years. The violence, he warned, could escalate at any moment. Then came 2024. The powder keg ignites July 4th, 2024. Hamilton, Ontario. 4 Hells Angels members and 1 Red Devils member, the Hells Angels Primary Support Club, assaulted and robbed someone at an establishment. On August 21st, police raided the Hells Angels and Red Devils clubhouses in Hamilton, seizing 4 shotguns, 3 rifles, ammunition, and body armor. 5 men were arrested and charged with assault causing bodily harm and robbery, but Hamilton was just a prelude. The Cambridge robbery, September 2024, September 21st, 2024. Cambridge, Ontario, 1 p.m. In broad daylight, with families and children around, Hells Angels members confronted loners MC members. What happened next was audacious even by biker gang standards. The Hells Angels and their Red Devils allies robbed the loners of their vests and patches, their identity and territory. In biker culture, stealing a rival's colors is the ultimate act of domination and disrespect. This wasn't a hidden ambush. This was a public robbery in the middle of the day. Detective Inspector Scott Wade described it as shocking. This is 2 rival gangs meeting in a public place during the day when public and families and children are around and conducting a violent robbery. The police response. The investigation moved quickly. On October 17th, Ontario Provincial Police and Waterloo Regional Police conducted raids in Cambridge and Kitchener. 1 week later, additional searches were executed in Seaforth and Whitby. The haul was staggering. 17 firearms, 9 magazines, ammunition, a prohibited get-back whip, a weighted leather whip used as a weapon, 3 Hells Angels vests, multiple cell phones, unknown pills, and stolen property. 5 men were charged. 4 were alleged Hells Angels members. 1 was a Red Devils member. Among them was 34-year-old Bradley McLaughlin from Seaforth. Others included suspects from Kitchener, Cambridge, Whitby, and a 29-year-old from Northumberland County who remains at large with an active warrant. 4 were arrested and released pending trial. 1 is still wanted by police. Police confirmed the victims were Loners Motorcycle Club members. Court documents revealed the complainant had a Facebook profile featuring the Loners logo, a half-werewolf, half-skull creature. The stolen property included motorcycle vests bearing the Loners patches. The power of the patch, Inspector Scott Wade explained the significance. Bikers publicly wear patches to claim territory and intimidate rivals. It's called the power of the patch. By stealing those patches, the Hells Angels sent a message to every loner in Ontario. We own this province. Your colors mean nothing here. This wasn't random violence. This was calculated territorial enforcement. The 2024 incidents mirror the tactics used during the original Ontario Biker War from 1999 to 2002. Public intimidation, daytime violence, robberies designed to humiliate rivals. The Hells Angels are following the same playbook that allowed them to conquer Ontario 2 decades ago. But the Loners aren't the same gang they were in 1999. They're international now, with chapters around the world. They've survived assassination attempts, clubhouse burnings, and massive defections. In Ontario, they've quietly rebuilt their presence in cities like Cambridge, Cornwall, and Brockville. The stakes. The stakes are enormous. Ontario's illicit drug trade is worth hundreds of millions annually. Control of ports in cities like Hamilton and Windsor means control of cocaine, methamphetamine, and fentanyl distribution networks extending across North America. Strip clubs, tattoo parlors, and massage parlors provide money laundering fronts. For the Hells Angels, total control means total profit. The Ontario Provincial Police have warned that outlaw motorcycle gang numbers are growing across the province. Detective Inspector Wade noted that support clubs have grown exponentially, providing manpower and recruitment pipelines for major gangs. The question facing Ontario now is whether 2024 marks the beginning of another biker war. The Hamilton incident showed Hells Angels and Red Devils members are willing to commit violent crimes together. The Cambridge robbery demonstrated they'll operate in broad daylight before witnesses. The seizure of 17 firearms proves they're heavily armed and prepared for escalation. Police have increased patrols in areas with known biker gang activity. Residents in Cambridge, Hamilton, Cornwall, and Brockville have been warned to report suspicious activity immediately. The message is clear. This conflict is real, it's active, and it could explode at any moment. The Loners' dilemma. The Loners face an existential crisis. They can submit to the Hells Angels, losing their identity and independence. They can align with rival gangs like the Outlaws or Bandidos, risking a multi-front war. Or they can stand alone, defending their territory against the world's largest and most powerful outlaw motorcycle organization. History suggests standing alone against the Hells Angels rarely ends well. The Rock Machine tried in Quebec during the 1990s. That conflict killed 162 people, including innocent bystanders. The Bandidos tried in Ontario in the 2000s. That ended with the Shedden Massacre, 8 members murdered execution style. But the Loners are different. They've survived 4 decades by refusing to bow to anyone. Their international presence gives them resources that purely Canadian gangs lack. Some experts believe the Loners may be the only Ontario gang capable of genuinely resisting Hells Angels' expansion. A province holding its breath. The September 2024 robbery in Cambridge wasn't just a crime, it was a declaration. The Hells Angels are reclaiming Ontario, one patch at a time. The Loners are the last major independent holdout. What happens next will determine whether Ontario sees another decade of peace or another descent into biker war. 17 firearms seized, 5 men charged, 1 gang standing alone against an empire. The streets of Ontario are about to find out if independence is worth the price. The conflict that began 25 years ago never really ended. It just went quiet. Now in 2024, it's loud again. And this time, the whole province is watching.